voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
Shining down from above.
We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the 15th day of January 2020, month of January, halfway through already. So time is really going quickly. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads those of you who are on the roads this morning, whether you're a pedestrian, whether you're a cyclist, whether you're operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember that the life you save may be your own. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open, and there is always someone there waiting to take your call. Again, this morning, and 9 times out of 10, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Today being Wednesday, it is the day that we have set aside for the independent members of our legislature to be in the studio. And it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning none other than MLA Mr. Ezard Miller. Mr. Miller, good morning, sir. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, and good morning, Dr. Markfield, and good morning to the listening public. Yeah, OC, it's good to be here, but you can drop that ass off, independent members. It's only one.
I said I leave the door open just in case anyone decides to switch again. And, of course, in the studio with us this morning, Mr. Miller, as promised, I think it was in the last show that he would have Dr. Steve Markfield in with him as well. And I am going to use privilege during the course of this show this morning and the discussion to ask Dr. Macfield to reflect on his life. You heard me wish Dr. Macfield a belated happy birthday on Monday because his birthday was on Sunday. And of course, we had breakfast at Simboko's on Sunday morning. I joined you guys there after the end of my ride, and Lord Graham was the gracious host on Sunday morning, and then we found out that there was a surprise party for Dr. Macfield Sunday evening, so we had to switch gears and head off there. So we're going to ask Dr. Macfield to reflect on his life at 85 years young, his lifestyle, what he has done, and he'll probably talk about his younger days, and it's probably a complete opposite now at 85 from what he did in his younger days. And during the course of the show, we're going to ask Dr. Macfield to reflect on that for us as well. But again, Doc, good morning and welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, and thank you for asking me here with Mr. Miller. And good morning to all your the people in for the record land, locally and in diaspora, and all of those people who are not in the diaspora but are friends of For the Record. Good morning to all of those people who listen to us in other jurisdictions. Yeah, it's good to be invited to come on the show on Wednesday with Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller is someone I respect, and as I was driving here, I was thinking about all of the traffic. And then I remembered back in 2004, I think it was March or April 2004, I was moving my office, and I went into Genesis building, and it was myself and Norman Hill, and I was expanding my office, and I needed a secretary. And I remember I had made a application to the employment board for a secretary, and weeks went by, and I was stuck. I had no one to. The secretary that we had to answer the phone, and then she had to do all the typing and do all the court work and everything. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to Mr. Miller that morning about the matter, and I went to court that day. And when I came back that morning, this girl told me that there was a letter from me on her desk, and when I opened it, it was the employment approval for the secretary. Mm-hmm. Mr. Miller had went and he had gotten it done. And when I called him and I asked him why was he had expedited it so quickly, he says that's the reason why the board is there, mm-hmm. and that's the reason why is to assist the Caymanian people and what they do and to help them. And if you are as a Caymanian lawyer and you can't get your business up, how can you compete with all of those who have 50 secretaries? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so that is how I remember Mr. Miller. And I also remembered before that, I met a young lady down in the village. And this might be a little sensitive, but I'm going to say so anyway. Mm-hmm. In the village, she was working in Fifi and Haig's jewelry store in the village. And I was asking her, I said, well, who are you? And Fifi said that they were family, Haig's family. And I said, well, I haven't seen her before. She said, oh, she just came back from America. And she has a degree in science, and she wants to be a doctor, but she doesn't have any money. And she's working here to try to get some money saved to try to get into medical school. And I thought to myself, I'm going to try to do something about this. Haig then was not in the government. He was in the opposition. Okay. And I went to see Mr. Miller up at the glass house. And I told him, I said, Mr. Miller, there's this girl who has a science degree, and she wants to be a doctor, but she has no money, and she's working in the summer. And it's a shame that people like that who goes to work in these places, usually they will lose their impetus, and they will not make a comeback, and it will be too late. Mm-hmm. Mr. Miller said, ask her to come to see me. She went to see him, and Mr. Miller gave her a scholarship and sent her to UWI, and she is I think she's the head of the hospital now. and that is the Premier's sister. She's Dr. McLaughlin, and that's the kind of person that Mr. Miller is. And Mr. Miller, like me, I believe, and I can say this without fear of contradiction, believes that everything is rooted in love. Love for your country, love for your family, love for yourself, love for your neighbor. And he, like I, make no excuses about that. We love our country and our peoples first. And it seems to me that many people sort of resent the fact that you love your country and your people first. They want you to be second class and want you to be the always the underdog, and that's the reason why I was happy to come on the show today with you, Mr. Miller, and yourself, and I'm glad that you asked me already.
Excellent.
I'm really thrilled about that.
The credit is due to Mr. Miller of sorts, because he, it is his show, and as well. So, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dr. McField, but I agree with what Dr. McField says, and Cayman is the only place in the world, where when you stand up for Caymanians, right, it's wrong. You take the great United States. If you speak out for the U.S., whether it's for the U.S. citizens or not, or you're patriotic, right?
Yes.
Here in Cayman, if you stand up for Caymanians, you're xenophobic. You don't want anybody to you're against foreigners, And like I keep telling people, you're spreading this rumor on me that I hate foreigners. Well, show me somebody that I did something wrong against, right? As Dr. McField is right, I spent, 15 months as chairman of the Work Permit Board. Not one foreigner can come and say that I victimized them. Now, did I stand up for Caymanians? Absolutely. That was what I was there for. Did I try to help Caymanians like Dr. McField? Absolutely. But I didn't deny other people the same access.
Right. You didn't do that at the expense of others. Yeah.
And I think I'm still the only chairman that ever existed at that board who we had board meetings Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as you will recall. And every Tuesday and every Thursday between 2 and 5, you could call the secretary up there and make an appointment to see me. You didn't need to tell the secretary what you want to see me about. There were no preconditions, and I dealt with a lot of people's issues at those meetings. But I think that what I always try to do is I try to remember my Sunday school lessons from people like Annette and Miss Virginia and people like that, and I try to be fair, right? Now, am I strong-willed, right? Am I prepared to stand up for what I believe in? Absolutely. But again, I don't do that at your expense, And I think we need more people, and we need to stand up for Cayman more. We'll talk to one of my greatest fears, is and I'm beginning to get real concerned, particularly with this growing debate about we need 100,000 people in Cayman. Now, where's that 40,000 going to come from? Not from organic growth of Caymanians. And we need to do some serious consideration of this. When I was in the government in the 90s, we had a downturn in the economy in 1990 and 91. Most people will remember. The same people today who are advocating to get 100,000 told us then that the solution to the problem was to get 60,000 people. We're going to have 35,000, between 35 and 40,000. So we have 60,000 today. What do we have? We have more crime. The quality of life for the average Caymanian has gone downhill from what it was in the 90s. We're all deeper in debt, right? We have more educated Caymanians who can't get their foot in the door in jobs. I left home 6:05. I got here 7:10, right? And I said to the off-right people during Finance Committee, when I was trying to find out at what point in time is government going to have the cojones to put price controls or some formula on pricing fuel. The average Georgetown and West Bay, who is the majority of the population, are the majority of the representatives in the LA. If you drive 3,000 miles or 5,000 miles a year, that's a lot of driving. You probably went north side, a couple of times. the people in my constituency average between 15 and 20, right? And if you're now spending an hour in traffic, that's more fuel you're consuming that you're not getting any mileage from, hardly, right? So, whereas the fuel bill for that average Georgetown and West Bay is not really that big a proportion of your income. For people in my constituency, it represents a substantial expenditure. And we need to do things for Caymanians. You know?
Okay. We have to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. When we return, the conversation with Emily, Mr. Ezra Miller, and Dr. Steve Macfield will continue, so don't change that dial.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Cayman teas, or otherwise known as bush tea, have long been known for their medicinal properties. A past director of the Agricultural Society, Mr. Alvin McLaughlin, recalls fondly that his knowledge of Cayman teas came from his mother, Miss Crystalline McLaughlin, and grandmother, Kathura Jackson. Before the prevalence of modern medicine, Cayman bush teas were regularly boiled to alleviate various complaints and ailments. Guava leaf and pomegranate are both known for keeping blood sugar levels low in diabetics and were an important part of Caymanian tradition. To make a good brew, pick and dry leaves for a few days, put a handful of leaves into a pan, cover with water, and bring to a boil. Brew for 5 minutes, then pour, leaving the remainder to seep with the leaves still in the pan. Teas can be sweetened with honey and sugar.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced courtesy of Mr. Alvin McLaughlin, The History of Agriculture, 50th Annual Agriculture Show magazine. Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
I remember playing at 7 Mile Beach as a boy, eating mango by the sea, learning how to snorkel. My mother, she worked so hard to provide for our family so that we could have those moments. Seeing her age has been tough. That strong, capable woman, now in need of daily support, it's my time to be strong for her.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
2020 means perfect vision, and if you have your sights set on driving a new hybrid, then the time is now to check out the new RAV4 and CHR. Just 2 of the many hybrid models that Vamt is bringing to Cayman. Whether you're looking for a smoother and quieter way of driving or want a car that maximizes fuel efficiency while minimizing emissions, there are lots of ways a new hybrid from Vamt can make the difference in your life. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries without being plugged in. So focus your 2020 vision on a new hybrid from Vamt Motors, and we will see you through. Come to Vamt, home of the hybrid, located on Walkers Road.
Run, don't walk to Le Classique on Mary Street, where the final move-in sale is on. Hurry on down to Le Classique on Mary Street and do something sweet for your feet. Up to 75% off the entire store for 3 days only, where everything must go. That's right, every shoe, every bag, every wallet, everything must go. All stock priced up to 75% off. Shoes priced as low as $10 and $15. All stock priced to go. Final moving sale at Le Classique on Mary Street this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Final blowout sale. See you there.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller, and Dr. Steve Macfield. Gentlemen, talking about giving that additional push, for Caymanians. If we were to follow the whole UK concept, for instance, when you apply for a passport online, you become a non-person. There's no one that you can call and say, well, I'm in this predicament. What can you do to assist me? And even if you could, they would be reluctant to do it. You saw ministers, I think it was David Blunkett, went through a whole issue in Parliament at one time when he was Home Secretary because he basically took shortcuts for his one of his helpers to get a visa or something like that to remain in the UK or to come to the UK. We see, I'll use an example, in cycling. As a matter of fact, it occurred yesterday morning. We're going over the Dart Bridge, and there was a young lady who had already probably ridden 25, 30 miles already. So going up the bridge, she was, lagging behind a little bit, and one of the other cyclists just put his hand on her, either on her waist or on her seat, and pedaled fast and helped her across the bridge. This whole idea of a level playing field in the Cayman Islands, when jobs are advertised, that you have to advertise them to all and sundry, as opposed to trying to attract Caymanians. Can we, if we are to help Caymanians, can we subscribe to that? And I don't know if we'll have enough time for it, but the story in today's Cayman Compass as well. Caymanian helicopter pilot gets first officer bars. He gets his bars in Trinidad. Mr. Darren McLean. And the article starts by saying aspiring police helicopter pilot. He's aspiring to be a police helicopter pilot in the Cayman Islands, and seem to have all or most all of the credentials that are necessary. So let's talk about the whole idea of a level playing field. And Dr. Macfield, if you may at some point in time, what does the Constitution say in terms of being more partial to Caymanians?
But that's a good example. Mr. Darren McLean is not aspiring about, but the man is a fully qualified commercial helicopter pilot. Understand that? The man has all of his FAA ratings. To my knowledge, he's even rated in a glass cockpit, which is a level above a normal instruments rating, right? For him to be told, right, that to fly this little baby helicopter we got here, right, he needs to be in Trinidad 3 years flying helicopters from land out to oil rigs and back is absolutely ludicrous. It's ludicrous. The only thing he should have to do to go in the left seat, because I think, let me say, if you're the captain is in the right seat on a helicopter, whereas on an ordinary plane the captain is in the left seat, right? For him to go left seat on that little helicopter we got here, right? All he should need is his full FAA qualifications. Then he can transition that to, I'm not exactly sure what the air navigation officer says now about the number of hours to be licensed in Cayman as a, but I know it's not 3,000 hours. Commercial license for Cayman. And then go and spend, I think it's probably 8-10 hours in classroom, right? Plus maybe another 3 or 4 or 5 hours to be type rated in this helicopter, and the man should be put in the left seat as the co-pilot.
Now, one of the arguments that officials seem to be using about
you do not need 3,000 hours, right, to go in the right seat on the jet.
Yeah. What about the argument about insurance requirements?
Well, I mean, insurance you get what you pay for, right? And again, that is just another stumbling block in the way. What we don't do, and here's a good example. That young man went off, he excelled, he got his qualifications. The Cayman government bought a helicopter. Well, I think what he was actually training could be. When he came back here with his qualifications, right, you get back to the level playing field. That man should have had every opportunity to go in that. Automatically, we should have promoted him, right? We should have bragged about him. We should almost put him on a pedestal, right? And we should have ensured. But the one we had before, what they did, was they took the co-pilot collector out, the collected thing you fly the helicopter, so he couldn't fly as a co-pilot, right? And we were allowing that to fly all around here. I think they were even going to the Bracken back with one pilot, which is probably sailing close to the wind in terms of the commercial operations of it too. So what are we doing with this young man? Now, we sent him down to Trinidad, say he got to be there 3 years, flying out to Isle Rigs and back. What we should have done with him, in my view, is we should have accepted that he was qualified and that all he needed to be was be type rated on this plane. We should have sent him to an environment where if he wants to fly the police helicopter, where he's flying search, he learns how to fly a search grid, because he's going to be doing search and rescue here, flying out to Isle Rigs in Trinidad. It's the same thing every day.
And almost every police organization in the UK has a helicopter.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and why not send him there?
He should go and get good military training or police training, right? Then I would say, okay, you send him over, then you get 400 or 500 hours extra, and you bring him back and you put him co-pilot on the thing. We should be right now, the chief of police and the helicopter crew should be at Clifton Hunter High School trying to recruit Caymanians to send them to helicopter school to come back and fly this plane. The target should be that in 3 years, the whole crew related to that helicopter going to be Caymanian, right? Well, we don't believe that Caymanians can be good police, right? The country was built on Caymanian police, right? But what do we do with the Cayman who wants a police force? We carry him down, we recruit him, we send him down, Governor's Square for, what it is, 3 months or something of school, and expect to make him a police officer. When we used to send Caymanians to Jamaica or Barbados for 6-9 months a year, we should be recruiting police and sending them to proper police schools, right? Because the first thing I tell the guy when he comes out to get promoted, right? Because when I talk to the young Caymanian police, most of them don't have a career that knows, okay, I finished this course now, and I work on the beat for 6 months, then I can, whatever the next level is up, sergeant or what, the exams, right? We just don't, and one of the things that galls me, is when I hear these people come here and tell us, well, Caymanians are now a global village and we have to compete internationally. Listen, this is Cayman. Most Caymanians who have have tertiary education have already competed on the globe, because we had to go to their countries to get it, right? And most times we go there and we're better than them that we're in class with, right? But one of the things that the young Caymanians tell me is, Mr. Millen, I don't understand Cayman. I'm in class, I'm getting better grades than John below, but he's being hunted by American corporations and offered a job. Every summer he goes to work for them. They come in, they take him to dinner, they court. I come back to Cayman, I carry my CV around to all of these places. Nobody calls me. You ask them to have any jobs? No, right? We don't have no job. We don't have no vacancies. We don't have no jobs. Every person here on a work permit is a job that a Caymanian can get and should aspire to get.
Okay, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
The festive season was festive, so it's time to give your body the love and attention it deserves. At Foster's Cabana Bay, you'll find the largest selection of organic, fresh produce, vitamins, supplements, nutritional powders, and more for any diet and lifestyle. Stop by the Bay Market Cafe for fresh juices and smoothies, a healthy, made-to-order meal from one of the service counters, or kombucha on tap from Saucha. Foster's, Camana Bay, and Bay Market Cafe. Better because we care.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by Value Med Pharmacy, with 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and an Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit Value Med, more than just a pharmacy. Value Med Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Boddentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop Value Med for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery. And home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit Value Med, more than just a pharmacy.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Island.
With your latest news, I'm Kersley Fuller. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service recognizes its 2019 Employee of the Year. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
Meteorologist Avalon Porter takes the top spot for 2019 for his work not just on forecasts and weather warnings, but also for his efforts to manage the National Weather Service statistical database. Mr. Porter is the lead meteorologist in charge of climate requests, and statistical database maintenance for the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. He also manages the officers who observe and carry out quality checks to limit errors within the database of the service. Mr. Porter has a bachelor's degree in meteorology from the University of the West Indies. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
And the turnout at Royal Palms Beach Club Australian Bushfire Raffle this past weekend exceeded the restaurant manager Dean McGlynn's expectations.
The event went much better than expected. Initially, we were hoping to raise $10,000 US. With raffle tickets, we sold $44,700 US. And then on top of that, us at Royal Palms have donated $25,000 from the bar. The grand total raised was $69,727, which in Australian dollars is $100,000. So we crushed all goals.
He says he's grateful for how the community has embraced the cause.
Made us feel good. We had a couple of moments, a few of us Australians, and we sort of looked at each other and went, this is crazy. We're so far from home, but we're receiving so much support. I think we had about 600 or 700 people here, so receiving such support from a little island is a really big deal for us.
There are more than 2,000 firefighters continuing to battle the bushfires in Australia. In regional news, 2 United Nations health agencies on Monday said the death from cholera in Haiti is preventable and urged the local authorities to accelerate investments in clean water and adequate sanitation. The Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization, in a joint statement, noted that the cholera outbreak that began in Haiti in October 2010 caused an estimated 820,000 cases and killed 9,792 people. But they say due to the hard work of the Haitian government and the population in partnership with PAHU and other agencies, there have been no confirmed cases of cholera since the end of January 2019. The 2 agencies said cholera is a disease of inequity that unduly sickens and kills the poorest and most vulnerable people, mostly those without access to clean water and sanitation. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Kersley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Jerry Smith. President Vladimir Putin has used his annual address to Parliament to announce welfare initiatives aimed at boosting the birth rates, as Russia faces the prospect of a rapidly shrinking population. He said the country's fate and historical outlook depended on how many Russians there were. He also proposed a referendum on giving Parliament more say in choosing the Prime Minister. Jeff Bezos, the head of the global online retailer Amazon, says the company will invest $1 billion in India to digitize small and medium-sized businesses. On Monday, India announced that it was investigating complaints that Amazon was damaging smaller firms by favoring big companies. Internet restrictions imposed last August in Indian-administered Kashmir have been relaxed in parts of the territory. Broadband connections to banks, hospitals and government offices are being restored in several Hindu-majority districts. The number of people known to have died as a result of heavy snowfall in South Asia in recent days has climbed to more than 140. Most were killed by avalanches in Pakistani-administered Kashmir. The trial of a senior Cambodian opposition leader, Kem Sokha, has begun in Phnom Penh, more than 2 years after his arrest. He denies conspiring with the United States to overthrow the Prime Minister Hun Sen. The senior UN official in Lebanon has accused the country's politicians of doing nothing as the economy collapses following months of unrest. He said they were to blame for what he called a dangerous state of chaos. In the latest case to highlight Japan's lack of joint custody laws, an Australian man has been released after spending over a month in jail on charges of trespassing while searching for his children. Scott McIntyre says he hasn't seen them since last May. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by Value Med Pharmacy, with 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and an Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit Value Med, more than just a pharmacy. Value Med Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Boddentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop Value Med for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery. And home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit Value Med, more than just a pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
Spring clean your kilts and fluff your sporn and practice the gay Gordons. The Burn Supper is coming.
On January the 24th, Jasmine is hosting its 5th annual Burn Supper at the Grand Ole House. Starting at 6:30, this is an evening not to be missed. Your ticket of $150 includes a 4-course dinner, wine, whiskey, and lots of Scottish dancing. Thanks to our sponsors Artec, RSM, Butterfield, and Macallan. For more information and to reserve your tickets this year to our Burn Supper, please call 945-7447 or email info@jasmine.ky. All proceeds benefit Jasmine Palliative and Hospice Care Services.
We'll see you lads and lassies on the dance floor.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky. New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it, drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
A pleasant good morning. Time now for the latest weather report. Current temperature is 81 degrees. Relative humidity is 71%. Barometric pressure 30.04 inches and rising. The wind is west-northwest at 14 knots. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopsis indicate fresh easterly winds and rough seas will continue for the next 24 hours in association with a high-pressure system over the western Atlantic Ocean and also a tight pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show isolated showers south of the Cayman Islands moving southwest. Now the forecast for today calling for mainly fair skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the mid-80s. Your winds will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be rough with wave heights of 6 to 8 feet, especially along the south and east coast. Small craft warning remains in effect for today and tonight as well. Now the forecast for tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers and temperatures dipping to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 6 to 8 feet, especially along the south and east coast. We're presently at a low tide, and the next high tide will be this afternoon at 1:20, and a low tide again tonight at 8:17. The sun will set this evening at 6 minutes past 6 and will rise tomorrow morning at 2 minutes after 7. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Friday morning.
Superstitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Superstitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky. New stock has just arrived at Superstitch. Now don't take my word for it, drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Superstitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Superstitch, 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
In preparation for the Heroes' Day celebrations, the Cayman Islands government is seeking interested food vendors and special event services providers. Businesses wishing to be considered for selection may collect their application package from the Government Administration Building reception or email requests to nationalevents@gov.ky. All applications for food vendors and special event services providers must be submitted no later than 5 p.m. on Friday, January 17th.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads. Looking towards the west, on the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions. In and out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, things looking pretty good as traffic flowing nicely. Moderate flow of traffic coming from the Butterfield roundabout heading towards the Industrial Park area. The steady traffic heading towards the Butterfield roundabout on the Esterly Tibbetts Highway. And looking towards Godfrey Dixon Way and Eastern Avenue, moderate flow of traffic. Edward Street, traffic is light to moderate. Light traffic on Owen Roberts Drive. And bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Linford Pearson Highway. And also on the Shamrock Road. So expect some delays as you're heading down to Georgetown. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you once again with another traffic report. Drive safe, Cayman Islands.
Do you ever have those days when you have to get a super early start? Or you're out late and want something fresh and healthy to eat? Subway has now opened their 4th 24-hour location for you early birds and night owls. Subway at West Shore Center on 7 Mile is now open 24 hours. So now you can grab any of Subway's fresh menu items any time of the day at 4 convenient locations. West Shore Center 7 Mile, Countryside in Savannah, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers West Bay. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, we have MLA Mr. Ezard Miller and Dr. Steve Matfield. Gentlemen, we want to go back to this whole idea of whether or not at the level playing field, we know that people look out for each other. Nationalities look out for each other as well. We hear anecdotal stories in the Cayman Islands about favoritism in certain jobs when there are vacancies. Oh yes, I have a friend who's overseas, and they have the requisite qualifications. They apply for work permits. They get them. So what is wrong with Caymanians looking out for Caymanians? Sometimes you have to tilt that playing field a little bit. But if we are to strictly observe the rules of a level playing field and not be able to give some advantages to Caymanians when that advantage is needed, we're going to be in a very, very ticklish situation here in the Cayman Islands. So what does our Constitution say, in relation to carve-outs for Caymanians, Doc?
Well, that is one aspect of the Constitution that I actually like and love, and it is perhaps one of the better part of the Constitution is Section 16, where the framers of the Constitution in 2009 had to have seen this problem, because they went to great lengths to solve this problem by giving the Caymanians, making Caymanians first in the Constitution. And so what the Constitution does, it gives our government, our cabinet, it gives them, not the governor, our government, our cabinet, it gives them the right to restrict the entry into or exclusion from or the employment, engagement in any business or profession, movement or residence within the Cayman Islands of persons who are not Caymanians. That is those are very powerful words. And it goes on to say, nothing in any law shall be held to contravene the discrimination section to the extent that it requires persons to be a Caymanian or to possess any other qualifications, not being a qualifications specifically relating to any such description of grounds as is mentioned in the one I just spoke there, in order to be eligible for appointment to any office in the public service or in a discipline force or any office in the service of a local government authority of a body corporate established directly by the law for public purposes. So what does that say? In the police force, in the immigration department, in the fire department, in the custom department, in all of those departments in prison, we can make a law to say that only Caymanians can work in those positions. And that law does not offend the discrimination sections of Section 16 of the Bill of Rights. So we have all the protection we need. But what we do, we don't live up to the words on the paper, especially the most supreme paper in the land. We don't live up on the words to that the words that protect us. And I would like to say just here and now, I am only the messenger. I am only relating the message. I'm only the messenger. But what we are doing here, we are only not giving the Caymanians the positions that they need and that they're entitled to, and the supreme law of the land say that they're entitled to articulate their dreams and their aspirations. And I am very worried about that, because it seems to me that if you can ignore the guarantees under the Constitution of your right in the country, then something is completely wrong. But then I come to the conclusion that in Cayman today as I sit here with you gentlemen, I come to realize that those people who are elected in power do not actually have the power. The power is with somebody else who's unelected, and that's the problem that we have in this country.
Okay, we have a caller.
What we have to change.
Yep, we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Macfield, Mr. Miller, and Mr. O'C, or if you have another guest there.
Just the three of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hope you guys are okay. I couldn't agree more with Mr. Macfield, especially the last comments he just made. I mean, he told him he's just a messenger, and it's such a sad state of our affairs that we haven't elected Mr. Macfield with the knowledge that he has, and he has given to us through his advice of what we should be standing for. But I had to laugh this morning when Mr. Miller said that they're saying that he's anti-expat. Well, I'm not gonna call her name, but he knows who I'm talking about. His good friend from Cayman passed the joke. She said if he was anti-expat, why he went and married a foreigner for? Why he didn't marry one of his own?
True.
She said that's a good example to show him that he's not against him because he would have married one of his own. I'm sure he could have found one of them if he wanted one of them. Not saying that that's his choice, but she only showing you that if he was so much against him, he would have hit him so bad he wouldn't want one of them up in his house.
Yep.
So that's a great example. But like Mr. Murphy said, we need to stand. But as we can see now, we have elected people that has no backbone, or they got backbone for somebody else. They're not for Caymanians. And we can look at just in the security centers, not a particular company, but all the securities. I know that you can pretty much, I haven't come across one yet, but I have, or you can count them on your hand, how many Caymanians are into these securities. There's every expat from, must be all over the world, you must go everybody. And I don't understand, every month you see a new face popping up. But there's no Caymanians. My uncle used to say, the biggest mistake that we're going to make is we're going to hire foreigners, and the reason why we're going to hire them is for cheaper labor and hold them hostage. But he said what's going to happen, they're going to watch Caymanians and the rest is going to slip through the gate. And so say it so done, so we can watch the crime that's happening, and we're not hearing no solutions. So you got a fox watching the hens, but they're watching the Caymanians, so it's like it's Caymanians that are doing the crime and everybody else is okay. But I don't know, we need to wake up. We Caymanians need to wake up and take our country back, because it's going to be worse than I don't know where. But we can see that we're going down a road. And again, talking about the this is a different topic altogether, but we need, as I'm from the district of West Bay, and I bittered about all of these alcoholic premises that are popping up in the district of West Bay. In the last 4 months, I guess since about September, we have had a high rise of all these liquor licenses that are being granted. Nobody I don't know whether they changed all the rules for liquor license, because I thought he had to notify within the perimeter of where it's popping up to notify people these are coming. And I remember when they were going to put Jake Scott in Savannah. The people from Savannah, I guess they were notified, and I don't know if Jake Scott ever did come there, but I know they stood up as much as they could. If it's there now, they stood up as much as they could. But we're not even getting notice. I mean, we're getting them popping up overnight now, and it is ruining our economy. That's not a solution for. I mean, you got the adults that don't care for the young ones that are buying alcohol because they're alcoholics themselves, and they'll go and buy something. So we're making it easy access to these children. We are losing our next generation, and people need to wake up. So they'll be calling on the Central Plan Authority and the Liquor License Board. We are going to get a petition going against all of these liquor licenses because we want them out of West Bay. We've had them here for years. We don't need them anymore. So we need to recall them back in, and I'm going to call a meeting from the District of West Bay on this situation because I am tired. I have grandchildren, and I'm sure everybody else has theirs, and I have to protect them because they're my next generation to take care of. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much for that, gentlemen.
Well, the caller makes a lot of real points, and I too wonder, why do we have so many liquor license outlets in the country? I mean, I understand that we are recipients of the free enterprise system, and we believe in that, but there is a limit to what we should do. But just let me help the caller out there for a minute. What I believe is that there's no real Caymanian agenda. It's the focus seems to be only on the few people up at the top, on the top. There's no there's no real Caymanian agenda, and what we are trying to do, we are not trying to have reaction or a reaction to our expressions. What we are trying to do is to hold people who are to make people accountable. Those people who offer themselves for representation for the people. We want to hold them accountable. But of course, now I guess Mr. Miller has come to realize that there's a difference between running for election and being elected. When you run for election, you're all happy, and you make all the promises, and you're giving the $25 and the $50, and you're giving the fridge, and you're giving even the zinc for your house, and you're giving even a trip to Tampa. And then when you get elected, you are now belong to the forces that surrounds the power in the real. Those people are the real power. So
all of a sudden you start getting invitations
here and there.
Cocktail party, not cocktail
yes,
party.
and they're telling you, you know,
or you want to go to lunch, and
yes.
but the only reason for the lunch is to tell you, now that you're in government, I'd like to meet with you regular, and I need these things, and I need that.
Yes.
Of course, that is why they have this false thing on me about me being xenophobic, and I don't take part in them things. And
that brings me to something that I just cannot leave this. I have been thinking about this for the last 2 weeks. A young gentleman, I think, from West Bay, from the College District, called in to several of the radio stations, talk shows, and he's articulating about a woman, or the young lady who was fired from her job because she was speaking with the Cayman dialect to the customers in the establishment, and she was on probation, and they found a way to get rid of her before the probation period was up. And I just cannot take that. I just cannot understand why I have not heard any follow up about that. Whether if that is true, why there's no follow up about that. because hair is that is an example of what happens to our people in these institutions who do not have any respect for us whatsoever. And I say it, and I mean, I don't know what my life is going to be, what my future is going to be, because 40 years ago I had a future. I'm living in it now. I'm living in my future now. But I don't know what my future is going to be from here on. But I can tell you this. If that was true, and I was in the government, and that matter came to my desk, I would have the ticket ready. I would have, if it was someone on a work permit, I would have canceled that work permit. I would have the ticket ready, and I would have the escorts ready to escort you from my country. And if you want to appeal my decision, you could appeal it from abroad, but you were not going to appeal it here. I can tell you that. You see, if you can't do that for your people, if you can't set an example to protect your people, then your people will be calling the radio stations, and you'll have me as a messenger, and you'll have Mr. Miller as a messenger. And remember now, we are the civil messengers. The message that will come after us, if something is not done, if we do not shed this exclusion of the Caymanians, the message will not be the same as we talking here on the radio today, trying to appease the people who say that we're anti-foreigners and we're anti this and we're anti that.
And again, you know, they say that about one of us Caymanians, and we just accept it. But I'll say this to you, OC, and Dr. McPhee. Mm-hmm. You know, I was watching last night, actually, a program on Al Jazeera about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, right? And the differences in their approach to solving the racial discrimination in the United States. And I can tell you that 10 years ago, when you talk to young people in Cayman or people in Cayman of all ages, really, who are being deliberately disadvantaged and discriminated against in their own country on economic grounds and opportunities to move forward, they were looking for a Moses, a Martin Luther King, or a Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. The majority at that 10 years ago was looking for the first two, because what they wanted was an opportunity to participate in the economic miracle called Cayman, right? They didn't want to destroy anything in the process, right? They wanted to be given access and an opportunity to progress in it.
Okay, we have
today,
today,
the majority of the people are asking for a Malcolm X approach, because if I can't get in to this Cayman economic miracle, if I can't convince myself that I still have hope that I can get opportunity in my own country, then I just will destroy it. And that is what we have to arrest, but we can only arrest that by electing people who are not ashamed or afraid of to stand up for Caymanians. And this business about a level playing field, Caymanians must get the opportunity first.
Mm-hmm. Folks, a little bit past our commercial break. We have to take a break now. When we return, the conversation with MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller, and Dr. Steve McPhee will continue, so please stay tuned.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, formerly known as Professional Pharmacy, would like to thank the Cayman communities for their loyal support these past 18 years. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care. Thorough background checks and follow-up consultations is only the beginning. Your safety is our concern. Our staff are respected healthcare professionals whose job requires careful and precise calculations. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, where we prepare to provide exceptional care. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we care about your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
run. Don't walk to Le Classique on Mary Street, where the final move-in sale is on. Hurry on down to Le Classique on Mary Street and do something sweet for your feet. Up to 75% off the entire store for 3 days only, where everything must go. That's right, every shoe, every bag, every wallet, everything must go. All stock priced up to 75% off. Shoes priced as low as $10 and $15. All stock priced to go. Final moving sale at Le Classique on Mary Street this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Final blowout sale. See you there.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm going to share two pieces of correspondence that I received. This one says, good morning to Dr. Steve Macfield, Mr. Miller, and Mr. O.C. I just wanted to agree with you about how difficult it is for qualified Cayman nationals to get a job in specific fields. I have a doctoral degree in clinical psychology and a master in educational psychology, but still can't get a job in that field. Another person writes and says, I have been in the civil service long enough to see how things are done. The service hires expatriates, keeping them long enough in those posts until they become Caymanians. Then they brag about having Caymanians in those same posts. And, that adds to the number of Caymanians employed in the civil service as well. Well, maybe we need to consider categorizing the types of Caymanian that we have. In the United States, there is a distinction between a born American and a naturalized citizen of the United States. Not only is there a distinction between the two, but there are certain positions that you will never, ever hold in the U.S. if you're only a naturalized
That's right.
Citizen as well.
Well, see, just let me go back a bit. You really have to love yourself. Like I opened my remarks this morning with love. Mm-hmm. That is the thing that we have to do. We have to love each other. We have to stand together as a people. When I look back at the things that Mr. Ormond Panton and Captain Keith Tibbetts and all of those people did, you remember how difficult it was for us to travel. We had to go to a job in America. Mm-hmm. When people said, "Oh, come over here and get a job," but we couldn't go because we had to have the visa to entry. Mm-hmm. We had to either have money to go to Jamaica or to go to some other place to get it before we go and then come back and then go. Mm-hmm. Those men saw the problem. They went to Washington, D.C., and they negotiated with the State Department to get a waiver. The waiver was through. A lot of people come here today. I asked them, I said, they got naturalized as British Overseas Territorial citizens for Cayman Islands, and they get a Caymanian passport in which they're allowed to get the waiver. Mm-hmm. And I said, do you know how that happened? Do you know how that happened? They don't know how it happened. Mm-hmm. They don't know how we sacrifice for the love of our people, to get our people to work, to get them to make a living for their families. We did that. That's the kind of spirit we need today. We need people who love their country, and people who love their people, and people who love to see their people excel. You and I were up at the school, and Mr. Miller was up at the school several weeks ago.
Yes, Clifton Hunter, yes.
And we asked the gentleman how many people had. He said 780 children were there 15, 16 years old. Well, I don't know what they are going to do if you just read someone has a PhD and someone has all the qualifications and they can't. And they already have reached the acme of their profession and they can't get a job. Well, what's going to happen to these little 15, 14-year-old children as you run around the campus there? That's not reality.
And when at the same time they're competing against the child of an expatriate who will, the expatriate will stay here, and we're not being anti-expatriate, we're just explaining things as they are. We have to be able to deal with reality in this country, and sometimes people don't like to hear the naked truth, but you have to hear it. So you'll have an expatriate parent who's here, who has the financial wherewithal and everything else to send their children to boarding school, private schools overseas. And they eventually gain Caymanian status, and their children eventually gain it. And then we have our Caymanians who are then left to compete against them. If you call it compete, because, it's like chalk and cheese,
like chalk and cheese. And the problem is we have to stop blaming Alden. We have to stop blaming Kirk. And we have to stop blaming MacBush. We have to go out and solve this problem ourselves.
Yes.
But you got to understand, talking about reality also, right? The reality here in Cayman right now, is that there are a few Caymanians, right, who are doing really, really, really well out of this situation we're in here now with how the government operates. And they have access. Dr. Macfield talked about the people behind it, the throne that have the power. Those are the people who have the power.
Yes.
Many of them are not yet Caymanians, right, or have just become Caymanians, right? And to wrestle this from them, right, and return it to the average Caymanian is going to be a difficult exercise, but we got to be prepared to do it. Because the other side of that coin is that the majority of Caymanians are suffering.
Yes, and that's why we say I am the messenger. We run the messengers.
Yeah.
We don't have any power to do anything. We don't have any power to make any changes today or tomorrow, but we are the messengers. And people have to start waking up and listen to the message and figure out for themselves what they have to do to be able to have a level. Can you imagine in your own country where you grow? And let me remind your listeners, OC, we're born here, OC. I born in Mary Street. I didn't born in Jamaica, or I didn't born in Honduras. I born here. And so why is it that I have to struggle in my own country, and my children, my grandchildren would have to struggle in their own country just to say that they Caymanian? And OC, if we really, as Mr. Miller said previously about the increase in the population, if we really wanted to increase the population and we wanted to have a uniformity, and I remember this word when I was looking at this old movie called Elizabeth I. You remember when they were trying to push her out, and they were trying to take over Parliament, and she had them all locked up. And went to Parliament, and they couldn't come to vote. And she said there's no uniformity. And so if we want uniformity, there are thousands of Caymanian people in the diaspora all over the world that are qualified, that we could recruit and give them the jobs here. They are our cousins and our grandchildren and our uncles and our aunts and stuff that went to different countries when there was nothing here for them to do. And so I do not understand. I do understand why there is this need to overcome, to overrun the country. You see, because I was trying to tell some kids the other day, there is more to taking over a country than conquests by war and stuff. There's also conquest by immigration and by economic opportunity. And when I read some of the old Canadian stories about the Klondike and the gold rush and stuff, this is the same thing. Cayman is the honey hive. You know what Hercules used to call it? that land of milk and honey, and everybody comes here. Do you think if the Caymanian dollar was 125 or 30 of the U.S. and 160 of the Jamaican dollar and stuff, that people would be coming to Cayman just to be in Cayman Islands?
Yep. We have one caller, and we need to take a break, Ms. Susan. Your choice. We take a break first. We have a caller on hold. Caller, hang in there. As soon as we return from the break, we will come straight to you. So please stay tuned.
2020 means perfect vision. And if you have your sights set on driving a new hybrid, then the time is now to check out the new RAV4 and CHR. Hold up. Just two of the many hybrid models that Vamt is bringing to Cayman. Whether you're looking for a smoother and quieter way of driving or want a car that maximizes fuel efficiency while minimizing emissions, there are lots of ways a new hybrid from Vamt can make the difference in your life. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries without being plugged in. So focus your 2020 vision on a new hybrid from Vant Motors, and we will see you through. Come to Vant, home of the hybrid, located on Walkers Road.
The Cayman Islands Seafarers Association would like to inform all members that there will be a general meeting on Tuesday, January 21st at 7:30 p.m. in the Seafarers Hall, 11 Victory Avenue, Prospect. Nominations are also now being held for the 2020-2021 Council. Transportation for the meeting will be provided as always, and there will be 3 buses from West Bay Town Hall leaving at 6 p.m. The Barnes bus route in Georgetown leaves the public library parking area at 6:45, stopping at Cayman Compass Building and the Airport Fosters. The bus marked Bobo $1 public transport and is blue in color will do pickups from British Caymanian, Uncle Bill's, Walkers Road, Shedden Road, and Crew Road. The bus from East End pickups are from the school parking, the gas station, and wreck of the 10 Sails starting at 5:45. North side pickups are from Chisholm Store and the soccer field starting at 6:15. Bottom Town pickups will be from Lorna's gas station at 6:45. Savannah pickups from the gas station next to Wendy's at 7.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Going straight to the phone lines as promised. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning all, and thanks Dr. Steve Maxfield for your contributions there as always. It's very good, and for reminding the public about Mr. Orman going to Washington. I tell you one thing, we sure need to work on that again. Our ministers and elected members go all over the world to do different things. Why can't they go to Washington or Jamaica or wherever they need to go to negotiate with the U.S. Embassy to visit Cayman at least twice a year? 40 years ago, they came here, the U.S. Embassy, and you could go to the town hall or the tower building and you would get your U.S. visa stamped in your passport within 1 hour. And now look at the hassle they put us through. Have they done anything to try and improve on that? No. And the police records, then we paid $1 for them and $10 for them. They were good for 12 months. Now we're paying $25 for one, and if you need it, if it's an emergency, you have to pay $75 for it, and it's only good for 3 months. So we definitely need to do something about that. So if you would try and help work on that for us, we would appreciate it very much. Thank you. Because who goes to the United States anymore and us Caymanians? We support the United States with all the things that we buy from them and bring in here.
Well, caller. I just want to share this with you. The Americans did reach out to us when we were, and Mr. Ezra can confirm this too, when we were rebuilding the airport, when we were on the board rebuilding the airport, they did reach out to us and say that they were willing to allow us to have clearance here at the airport to enter the United States, but we would have to pay for it. And we would have to put in the make the space, which will, when you enter that space, you're in the United States for all intents and purposes, and according to their immigration law, so that when you walk off the flight in Miami, you didn't have to go through immigration again because you had already gone through immigration in Cayman. And we said that we didn't want to pay for the immigration officers to be stationed here. and their children to go to school, and we didn't want to have the space at the airport. That's what we gave that up. So
yeah, it's quite a commitment. I mean, they had pre-clearance in Ireland. They have it in Bermuda.
Yes.
They have it in the Bahamas as well. Well, speaking of visas, one of our listeners did share an article with me from the Cayman Compass, and it's entitled "Changes to U.S. visa system will impact Caymanians," and I will share this very quickly. It says Caymanians looking to renew their U.S. visas may not have to travel to Jamaica to make a formal appearance, according to Mark Seibel, the U.S. Consul General based in Jamaica. And he's quoted as saying, "We recently marked our 10-year anniversary of gathering biometric data for things like fingerprints. What this means is that if you meet the requirements, then you don't have to make an actual trip to an embassy to do an in-person interview or application." He says that people need to meet two conditions to be eligible to forego in-person interviews. They must have been previously issued a visa, a U.S. visa, right? And when applying, the first condition, you had to have had a visa before. The second condition is when applying for a renewal, and I'm surprised that they use the word renewal here, because they have said in the past there's no such thing as a renewal. When you're applying for a visa all over again. But he has used the word renewal here, so I'll use it as well. So he says, and when applying for a renewal, there must be more than 12 months remaining on their existing visa. So you have to have had a visa before, and there must be 12 months remaining on it. You can apply for a new visa or a renewal without having to go to the embassy in Jamaica because of their 10-year program that they've had in terms of biometrics. I also shared with one of our callers this week, just this week, I believe, as well, in relation to persons 85 years and over.
There's an age group. I think that applies
85 years and over, and younger than 14 who are not required to appear in person as well. I think we have another caller. Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Dr. Maxfield and Mr. Miller.
Good morning, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish all the best for this 2020.
There you go.
Okay, yes. All this things don't look well, neither. Things don't look well at all. And listen, I could change up a story one little bit, right? Oh, see, do you remember a lady from West? I'm from West Bay. I guess only can hear that. Called in some time ago. I think it was on your show that you had some opposition there. That you were talking about people with homes that they have to put out buckets when it rains to catch the water and all that kind of stuff there. Oh, see, I think I believe it was your show, you know.
Okay, can't recall offhand, but
anyway, and they were invited to come and check out these people's homes, and I think that they did. So listen now, on Sterling Show, I think it was last week that I mentioned that same story, but now I was talking about other people that have to set out their buckets and stuff to get this water when it rains. And about the cabinet, no, this is from Paloma now. And the cabinet, the kitchen cabinet, someone called me this morning and said the same person about the cabinet doors, they had tape up. And they had to put rubber bands around the little handles, you know, the little knobs. But then she said they got so frightened this morning, talking about how breaking the house, that when the doors fall down. And on top of that, now is also mold. You know, talking about the mold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then I have repeated this several times about where the brides, about all that were done in Borden Town for that big old bus that they had on the school field, and all was building and all the repairs and all that was done, and that came out of that fund there. What kind of fund is Mr. Miller? Tell me what kind of fund that was.
Look, I mean, the government has a fund for house repairs, which we put quite a bit of money in the budget, so that's not an excuse right now.
Yes. But
now one of the things that happens is they when they go in, they seem to go overboard and do so much more than what is necessary to make the repair. So they use up the money on 5 houses when it should be stretched over 10 or 15.
Yes, sir. I know what you're talking about. So now, I also when he spoke about Dr. Matthew about the fridge and stuff like that when he voted and all like that there. I wonder now if these people that got all that done in Borden Town had voted too, where they can get the building and the repairs and bragged about it and all of this stuff here. Because look at we in West is still suffering. When I heard me say just now about the cabinet door, I mean, and that now is the bottom doors, of the cabinet falling off. The poor woman, she thought that someone had breaking their house, and that's ain't that a shame?
Yeah.
And when you mention it, I call the next one. The next one call you. No, it's not burn the bush, You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I can leave it at that, and I know that they be listening, and they know my voice so well.
Oh, yeah.
It may sound a little bit kind of muffled now today because I have had an attack for the last 2 days of my sinuses. So I am sneezing like crazy. But then here I am. I don't care who hear me. I like when they hear me. But they need. I told Sterling one time to us, Sterling, and people have been telling me that I gotta watch how I talk and all that. I say hello. If the good Lord didn't want me to talk, He would have made me that I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I told Sterling, Sterling, I'm gonna keep kicking the ball. But then I say hard, and then I say no, Sterling, I gotta kick it kind of light. So it can land where it's supposed to land.
Thank you very much, caller. For that, we're going to try to accommodate one more caller before we go to our headline news at 9 o'clock. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. How are you today,
Good morning, sir. I'm fine. And yourself?
Mr. Miller, how are you?
I'm good, morning. I'm good.
I'm fine. How are you? I'm good today.
Very good to hear you all. Mr. Connor, just very shortly, I want to speak now. You were talking about my grandfather a few months ago in the trade range because I had the paper, but I can't remember what year it was that you had. It was 88 or something, where he gave permission to put that road to go to the airport from, where grandmother house was. You spoke about it on your show. That you were reading it from the trade winds or something there.
Okay, I'm trying to remember, refresh my memory on that. Because the trade winds that I have are from 1964, 65, and 66.
Well, it must be one of them because, like I said, you spoke about it, and I had the newspaper, but I lost it in my thing. But my grandfather George Gillette gave permission to the government to build a road to go to the airport. I know Mr. Markfield should remember that, Dr. Markfield.
Which one of the roads?
Right there by where Miss Morty and my grandmother's house was.
Oh, I don't know because Shaden Road was built from the 1900s by Shaden Sanguinetti.
Yeah.
He, the commissioner who came in 1895, he stayed until 1904. It's happened, and the reason why he left because he had tongue cancer.
Yeah.
And he left, but he was the one that laid out all of the roads in Georgetown mostly,
yeah.
and built. You might be talking about the bridges in over Crew Road because Crew Road was a swamp, and it was 3 people who were responsible to build the bridges. Three contractors: Miller from Northside, Mr. Bonner Russell from Georgetown, and MacPherson Panton, MacPherson, MacPherson, Mr. Wilford, Mr. Wilford Ryan's uncle.
Okay, that would be right.
Well,
MacPherson Thompson. Those are the ones who built the bridges to get cars going over the swamp in where you see where the airport is now, where Ben Ross House and all that stuff. It was three contractors on the bridges. The bridges were made out of wood in those days.
We're going to have to thank that caller because we've reached the 9 o'clock hour, but please feel free to call back. But we have to take the 9 o'clock break now, so please stay tuned.
You know...
to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team. Today's biggest news.
The Breast Cancer Foundation announces that Vinnie Jones will be the guest speaker at this year's Breast Cancer Foundation Gala, set on October 3rd at the Ritz-Carlton. The theme for this year is the important role of spousal and family support. Vinnie Jones started his career as a professional soccer player, playing for some of the UK's most prominent teams before moving into film. A passenger plane has dumped fuel over several schools as it made an emergency landing at Los Angeles International Airport. At least 60 people, many of them children, were treated for skin irritation and breathing problems. Fuel may be dumped in emergency landings, but only over designated areas and at a high altitude. The Delta Airlines flight returned to the airport due to an engine issue. U.S. President Donald Trump has launched a fresh attack on Apple. He tweeted that the company is refusing to unlock iPhones, quote, used by killers, drug dealers, and other violent criminal elements. On Monday, U.S. Attorney General William Barr accused Apple of not being helpful in an inquiry into a shooting that's being treated as a terrorist act. It's the latest in a series of clashes between the White House and the technology giants over access to data. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve Macfield, MLA, and MLA Mr. Ezra Miller. Just want to share a little bit more in relation to that article in the Compass about the Caymanians applying for U.S. visas in Jamaica and the callers, concern, as well as the callers' position that the government needs to do more if it means going to Washington to see what can be done. I'm not sure, in this era of Donald Trump, whether or not we're likely to see, much more, being done for the Caribbean. Yes. But the Consul General is also quoted as saying that the new arrangements are in place to help people offset what could be a potentially costly trip to Jamaica or the Bahamas. He noted that there is no chance of consular office in Cayman issuing visas, because we do have a honorary consular representative here in the Cayman Islands. He's also quoted as saying, I cannot actually foresee it. If I'm actually honest, the physical security requirements that now surround the issue of permanently stationing U.S. direct hire consuls in a permanent facility abroad are so expensive that there really is no way on a business model to justify that kind of outlay in a situation where you would have a really small visa market. And he goes on to point out that only 1,400 Caymanians apply for visas, U.S. visas, each year. And it goes on to say that when asked about the potential for those traveling on a Cayman Islands passport to be issued a full ESTA visa, the type of visa used for those applying on a British or Bermudan passport, Siebert said that was a matter for the U.S. Homeland Security. So that may be something that the Cayman
but
Islands
there was-
government could seek to negotiate on whether or not, because we now use the Cayman Islands passport, but we have to have that waiver, for it. So whether or not we can apply for an ESTA, which you pay something like, I think it's $14 for it, and it lasts for 2 years before you have to apply for a new one, because it becomes pretty costly when you have to apply for that waiver.
I don't know that the ESTA is needed now, and it would be economical, because every time I go to the States, I just put my Visa picture page on the automatic machine, and I get the same thing benefit as ESTAs get.
Mm-hmm.
And if once you complete it, you go and you just go through the line, But I know that successive governments have made representation to the U.S. to try and improve Caymanians' access, right? But that is the problem: cost, and cost versus volume.
Yeah.
And if Cayman is prepared to pick up the millions that it will cost, then they may consider it. But right now, it is not economical, and
he's
and if a Caymanian gets in a jam, they do in fact have the waiver that we can rely on, because that's issued right here.
Right.
But the problem with the waiver is that you can't go
Exactly.
through the U.S. to go to another country and come back through.
Third country.
Yes,
It's only used for one entry.
One entry.
So maybe
But the other
that's
side of it,
another thing that we try to renegotiate, because the initial waiver was something like Dr. Mark Felix pointed out, that Mr. Ormond Pandan and them were instrumental in negotiating. So why not try to renegotiate that? But now, of course, you may end up opening a can of worms, and the U.S. may say, "Oh,
We didn't know
so
that
you
existed,
have
denied it."
this privilege. We better look at this now and see whether or not we want you to
Yes.
continue to retain that as well."
But I
Yes.
think that what's the name of that European conglomerate visa system? Chevron.
The Schengen.
I think if we was to approach them, I don't know what can happen now with Brexit, right?
Yes, yeah.
But just like how you can use your UK passport and get an ESTA, what I believe we should have looked at was getting the Cayman passport and all the British and the other British overseas territories to be accepted as a UK passport, and you give the same privileges to because we are entitled to, but the alternative to that is they will tell you, well, you can get a UK passport, go and get a UK passport.
But remember now,
I don't want to.
But remember now, when Mr. Ormond Panton and Captain Keith Tibbets made that epic journey, and they were so successful. Remember now, we had to circumvent the visa requirements by the men who were going to America to look for work, signing on to the crew of the ship, and the immigrations in Tampa and all those places knew that they were passengers, but they accepted the fact that they were a crew, and I remember you had to pay £12 for the passage both ways, and they have the usual thing was to give them 29 days, and I heard this seaman tell me, say he went there and he couldn't get it. He had promised him a job, but when he got there they had gotten somebody else, and he and the immigration said, well, why don't you stay and get another 29 days? And say, no, man, I'm going back to Caymans. And the immigration said, well, we know that you paid to come up here, we know that you're not a crew. And you're not just signing off. So you better do this.
And someone used to go through Belize too,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because it was an easy sail from here to Belize to Tampa.
Yeah. And you know that the Bermudans have been having difficulties with the U.S. as well in terms of the waiver that they have, simply because of the change in the British Overseas Territory passport for Bermuda, because it says GBR in it now, as so the U.S. is identifying them as Great Britain as opposed to Bermuda. So they've had some problems with that. I'll try to find the articles that explain exactly what is happening there with that. But that's the situation. Ms. Susan, we don't have any callers.
But
okay,
remember, before we leave the subject, there were several events that prompted the hard line. Now, you remember now, we were the only people in the world that have the waiver. We were the only people that could go to America without a visa at one time. Well, I can't remember the years it was. There were a whole lot of people turned up at the U.S. border with Caymanian passports.
Well,
who had never been in Cayman.
And what had happened
and
also.
that opened up a can of worms.
Yeah.
When they found out, well, how did you get this passport? Where do you live in Cayman? Mm-hmm. And they couldn't say, I don't live here. Do you live in Borden Town? And who's your family? Mm-hmm. And there was a corruption here.
It was. I don't think I wouldn't call it a corruption. Here's what I found out when working in the immigration department and working in conjunction with the passport office there was that, as we know, Caymanians went to the Bay Islands. Many of them went to the Bay Islands and other countries as well, right? Returned to Cayman, had families over there. And prior to 1965, we really didn't have any immigration laws whatsoever. So they came to Cayman, resided here all these years. I have a friend who came here, when he was something like 9 years old. Some people came earlier than that. My father returned here when he was in the arms of his mother from Honduras as well. When it came time for those men to go to sea, they needed to have that Caymanian passport. That Caymanian passport was issued to them. Later years now, when we developed this whole concept of Caymanian status and everything else, and the UK became more observant in terms of the issue of passports, we found that many of those seamen who were not born in the Cayman Islands but had lived here for the majority of their lives didn't possess Caymanian status under the current definition of Caymanian status. And the U.S. Embassy then got wind of that there were some holders of Caymanian passports who were not necessarily legally entitled to it. And that is when they started to clamp down on it. Then, so I don't think it was so much corruption as it was that at that time people had to earn a living. They were living here in the Cayman Islands. The whole concept of nationality, Caymanian status, was not developed at that point in time. They were issued with a passport to be able to travel. And some of them had them, they'd renewed, at that time it was 5-year passports. They were renewed over and over and over again. Then then they found out, a lot of them also became citizens of the United States, lived in the United States, returned to Cayman and had that old blue passport that they could show when they got here. Go to the passport office to renew it, and they say, we need evidence of your Caymanian status. We need evidence of, and they couldn't provide it because they didn't have it, but they had that passport to show for it. So that's where the problem lies. One of our listeners, Dr. MacPhail, and I'm going to read this, then we're going to go to commercial break, and then when we return, we're going to put the spotlight on you for a while, Doc, if Mr. Miller doesn't mind.
No, I don't want to know what his secret
is. And it says,
is.
Mr. Connor, I wish simply to wish Mr. MacPhail a very happy belated birthday. Also, I sincerely hope that he will have strength and health to continue another 50 years.
Well, I'm only 58 now.
That's right. Only 58. Only 58. So, Ms. Susan, we're going to take an early commercial break. When we return, we're going to ask Dr. MacPhail to talk to us about his lifestyle, contrast it to when he was a young man, what he did then, and what he does now to make him look and act so young as well. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Pure Art Gallery and Gifts on South Church Street would like to inform the public that they will be closed temporarily for renovations from January 15th to the 24th. They do apologize for any inconvenience while they work to improve your customer experience. On behalf of the team at Pure Art, they thank you for your patronage and they look forward to seeing you at their reopening come January 25th.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Turning
to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Now, going back on. Okay, we're back on. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with us, MLA Mr. Ezard Miller and Dr. Steve Macfield. Doc, all to you.
Well, Orrett, when I was young, I had a lot of difficulties. And not growing up in Cayman, I had a lot of difficulty to find myself in the world. I tried so many different things, and I remember the ultimatum I got from the powers that be then when I was growing up. Some of my friends, Edmund Seymour, who was much brighter than me, much smarter than me, and Hillard Smith, who was strong. He was the best specimen of a man I ever saw in my life was Hillard Smith. When Hillard was 16, he could go down on the dock, and the Americans had left a big old ball with two handles on it, 410 pounds, and he could pick it up to his chest.
Wow.
Edmund was the first time I heard the word demagogue was when Edmund told that to me, and he explained to me what it meant. When they went off to jail, for that they were coerced into starting a riot in Georgetown. The idea was to pay them to attack the police. A riot would come in Georgetown, and then they would blame Orrett Connor for the riot to get Mr. Orrett Connor out of politics, because Mr. Orrett Connor would have been the first chief minister under the new constitution in the 1960s. So when they attacked Wilkes, they attacked the weakest one in the police force was the old Mr. Wilkes. But Wilkes retaliated with his staff at them, and one of them stabbed him, and they went to jail. I was in that group of people that we were all disciples of Mr. Ormond Panton for internal self-government. That's what the whole thing. And the message came to me that you better get your boy off here, because if he winks, we're going to send him to jail in Jamaica, the prison. I was lucky to get into Canada. I was lucky to a couple invited me to Canada. I went up there to Toronto with them, and that's when I started to get maturity. Well, of course, I went to college in Canada, and I went to university, and went to law school. And I was very fortunate to meet my first wife, who was a university student herself. She took a degree in physical education, and she was also an Olympic swimmer, and she was a lifeguard at the university pool. That's what she did to make money, and of course, before I went there, I was almost a mental and a total physical wreck. I used to drink alcohol. I used to go down in the corner with those guys on Matilda Corner. Then my Dora's on by Raid Spot. I would go down there in the morning, sometimes with just 50 cents, $1 in your pocket, and wind up getting drunk, but going home in the evening after the bar closed. And I was in bad shape. And before that, when I was a seaman, I was a junior. I left National Bank as a junior there. Me and Roland Ebanks, and we were good at what we did. We were good at what we did, but we also drank hard, like 2 bottles of vodka a night and stuff. And we were like 20, 21. We didn't think we could die. I mean, we were Caymanians. I mean, who you? And So when I got into Canada, I met this lady, and I started to change my lifestyle, and she started reading all these books by Adele Davis and all of those things about how to eat well to stay fit and things like that. And she started telling me about the benefits you could get from changing your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
From 40 years ago, I stopped eating red meat. I started using my education to start researching everything that I was eating. And I remember reading Desmond Morris and all these people. Martin McLuhan said the media is the message is the stuff. And I start reading about all the advertisement of the things on TV and stuff and what they meant. And I've come to realize that these people are selling you things for you to buy it from them. Mm-hmm. They don't care about your body. They don't care about your mind. And I started to educate myself about myself. And I gave up red meat. I started to exercise. I started to run again. I went to the gym, and I started to read. I started to read the philosophy of life and all that stuff. And then, of course, a lot of people don't know, but I was a Mormon. I joined a Mormon. I was living in a Mormon family at the time. Mm-hmm. And of course, they don't drink any tea or any Coke or any soft drinks or anything like that. They drink soft drink, but they don't drink any alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I would go to parties with alcohol, and it didn't dawn on me that you could give up that sort of lifestyle. And I was on campus one day. Now I used to play cricket for West Vancouver and for Brockton Point. I was a fast bowler for that cricket club, those two cricket clubs. And I was in Vancouver one day, and I was sitting there's a wharf. There's a place similar, they call a wharf, and it's near the Sandley Park. And I was sitting there one day, and all of a sudden, this old man came up and was sitting by me. And we start talking, and he says, "You seem to be a troubled young man." Remember now, when I went to Vancouver, and I went to Canada in 1963. I went out to Vancouver in 1967, 68. And when I got out to Vancouver now, I was like one of the only blacks in the community. And he says to me, "You seem to be a troubled young man." And I was saying, "Yeah." I said, "I'm trying to find my way." At that time I had studied Buddhism, I had studied religion, I had studied all this. Maybe I should be a priest. And so I tried everything. And he says to me, "You should pray." And I said, what I should pray? But he says, "You should pray. When you pray, you have three wishes. You pray for two of them, and they will come true to you." And then he said, "You should read Jabez's prayer." You know Jabez's prayer? It says, I hope that you would bless me indeed, and that you will enlarge my territory, and that you will enlarge my territory, and that you will protect me from evil, that I may not cause pain to other people. And he says to me, you will get two wishes out of three. And I decided, well, what wishes I wanted to do. I wanted to have a long life, I wanted to be wise, and I wanted to have lots of money. And then I started to talk about, well, I would get the money if I have a long life and if I'm wise. And I prayed for wisdom and understanding and long life. And God gave that to me. I changed my whole lifestyle. I started to go to the supermarkets, and I started to look at the ingredients of things that I put in my body. And I started to go to all kind of lectures from different people. I remember I went to a lecture by a professor about the university, what you eat. And I started to be very conscious about that. And I started to look, and I had some little notes here. I didn't realize that the skin, your outer layer, the outer skin here, it regenerates itself every 27 days, and it sheds about 30,000 to 40 cells every hour. Mm-hmm. And if you can maintain the cell structure, and I've realized that the reason why people die early and start to get old is because your cells, after a certain time, they start reproducing themselves. And if you can continue to have yourself reproducing yourself by eating the right foods. So I gave up. I don't drink any pop. I don't drink any. The only liquids I drink is water and tea. I blend my tea out of onions, garlic, and ginger. And I blend a big pot of that. I make it cool. I put it in the fridge. And then I put a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in it and a teaspoon of honey and lemon. And I have that twice a day. That keeps my cells regenerating and going. I take the 4 big vitamins that all people should take every day. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, and vitamin B. The reason why we age a lot too is because we are doing what man is not supposed to do. We sit all day here in this studio, and we hardly go out in the sun, the fresh air, the breeze. That's not what nature made us to do. Nature made us to be out in the woods, gathering, walking, hunting, and so forth. You see this thing I wear on my arm here? That tells me how many steps I take a day, and how many I should take a day.
That's an apple? Or
and take a day. And it tells you when to get up from sitting down and walk. And so I did that. And it was just Christmas that I had the first bear for about 10 years. Wow. I went to drive-in Mango Tree with my uncle, and we were sitting outside talking, and as I was leaving, Larry Kayason, big rich, go, "Oh, Macfield, you leaving? Come here." So I went and I joined them, and I had a bear with them. I don't do that because it's not good for you. The worst thing that you can do is to eat all this old white bread, because it causes a lot of diabetes. And if I was a minister, I would have never let them put a fast food restaurant out near the high school. That's the worst thing they could do to people. All of the old white bread, all of these things you get in the supermarket that is not good for you. I look at the ingredients to see whether they have too much sodium, and stuff. So I have a good regimen, and I then went back to the land when I came home. That's the reason why I went back to the land when I came home. Went to Northward, found a place. And you have been to my house. You see, I got greenhouse. I got grow boxes. I grow my vegetables. I don't eat the chicken from the supermarket because they put a lot of hormones into them, and they grow them quickly, and that's not good for your body. Your body's getting chemicals that you don't know where it's going to come into cancer or where they're going to come into arthritis and whatnot. I grow my own chickens. I have 2 types of chickens. I have chickens for broilers. I buy them from the agricultural department, $25.50. I kill them when they get 6 weeks old, chop them up, skin them, put them in the fridge, like how you get the fish from me.
I know you love your fish, yes.
and I have chickens where I get my eggs, so I get 2 dozen eggs every day. I grow my vegetables, and I grow. So the only meats that I eat for protein is fish and chicken. And Orrett gets the fish from me from every time the ships boat come in. I get 20 to 30 pounds of snapper. I cut it up, or already have them cut up, and I put it in Ziploc bags. The amount I'm going to cook for a day, and I put them in the fridge and freeze them. And then I do a lot of exercise. And my son he started the same thing too. So we had a garage where we had our cars, and he said, "Take the cars out of the garage. The cars are metal. You're not saving the cars. You can get a car, but you can't get a body." And we turned the garage into a gym. And I exercise. I have my treadmill. I have my bicycle, and I have my multi-purpose machine. I do that at least 3 times a week, like for 20 minutes or 25 minutes a day. But the most thing, and then you have to love. You have to release all the toxics in your body. You have to love what people, you have to love what you do, you have to love your environment, and you have to have peace with yourself. So And another thing, I do not live by age. People say, well, I'm 75, no, I'm 76. I don't not even know what age I am unless my people tell me, oh, it's your birthday. I live from day to day. I live today. I do what I did today, and I don't have any
regrets about yesterday.
About yesterday, and I have no claims to tomorrow. And so what I'm saying, I put a lot of deposit. I deposit a lot of my youth into. And
you're reaping the dividends now.
Yes, and I do that. Like I said, because the skin reproduces every 27 days. At least I try to have a massage for my face every month.
Wow!
I go down to the massage place and I pay $40, $60, and I get the massage every month to keep the wrinkles from coming back. And the vitamin C, it keeps the elasticity into your skin. The vitamin C keeps your immune system powerful like that. And the vitamin D and stuff that you drink and the minerals. You notice that some people, they're like 45 years old and they stooped already. It's because of lack of the natural vitamins, the minerals in your body. You have to keep them in your body to keep upright. And the most important thing is you have to love life. If you love life, and if you give up all of the toxic things that make you hate and old. I gave that up a long time ago. I used to hate people. I used to be very angry with people and myself for the position. That has all disappeared. And now I think I am a good human being who will live for a good while, and I will keep the thing I prize most is my not my emotions, but my ability to think and to analyze life around me and to come to a conclusion, even if it's the wrong conclusion. But
mental acuity.
Yes, you have mental acuity, and I read a lot. Okay. I read everything I can find. I mean, I have a library in my office, and I have a library at home, and I have just about everything that you can talk about. And if it's not there, I go and search it, and I spend a lot of time at the archives.
I know that. Yeah, we know that as well. We have to take a commercial break. When we return, I will share with you the prayer of Jabez, as Dr. Macfield referred to as well. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Cayman Keswick 2020 starts on Sunday, January 19th at 7 p.m. and will continue every evening at 7 o'clock until Friday, January 24th at the Church of God Chapel on Walkers Road. The speaker this year is Johnson Lamb. Mr. Lamb is the former chairman and CEO of Keswick Ministries. Lunchtime sessions are at the Family Life Center on Walkers Road, Monday to Friday from 12:10 p.m. Cost of lunch is just $5 CI. You can join Radio Cayman each evening at 7 p.m. from Sunday, January 19th to Friday, January 24th for a live broadcast from Cayman Keswick 2020.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning MLA Mr. Ezra Miller and Dr. Steve Macfield. You heard Dr. Steve Macfield speak about his secret to longevity. He also referred to the prayer of Jabez, and it says here that the prayer is a simple one. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested. So that is a simple prayer, but speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Speaks volumes. Yes.
But
yes.
you must want what you pray for.
Yes.
You must believe in it.
And you got to make the effort to
You
get
have
it.
to make the effort to get
Bible
it.
tells
Yes,
the Lord help those who help themselves.
Believe it. So when I went to Orrett, you must remember now that I was not educated, you know. I was a technician. I went to New York School of Dental Technology. I was a technician. I knew about metals and carving and anatomy of the head and neck and things like that. That's what I do. How to bake porcelain onto gold and things like that. That I was good with my hands. When I went to university, I'm in the academics now. And when I went to law school, when I got in law school, I was the only black person in the University of British Columbia medical legal faculty of law. And when I went there, they called me and they asked me, they want to meet the Board of Admissions. I had a mentor, was a guy called Al Soroka. He was a New York lawyer, and he was teaching legal procedure in the University of British Columbia. That's how I got to go to law school, because I was supposed to be a historian. I had a graduate fellowship to go to any university in Canada and to go to be an assistant to a guy called Dr. Al Smith, to be his assistant. And I used to work out in the gym with Al. And he says to me, I hear that you got a graduate fellowship. And I said, yeah. And I'm going to be assistant to Dr. Smith, because I'm going to be his assistant. I used to do book reviews for him. And he said, don't do it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you never get tenure out here. He says, you'll always be assistant to somebody else. And he said, what to do now? He said, go to law school. And I said, but I can't get through the LSAT, the law school admission test. No, that's a test all day.
Yes.
Thousands of multiple choice questions. They ask you things like piano concerto and music in B minor. Who composes whether Beethoven or Tchaikovsky? And they ask you. They have little images. Is this 18th century architecture or medieval architecture? Well, I mean, what it does, it defines whether you come from upper class North America or not. But if they ask me about Sparrow or the Platters now, I know all that. Right. You know all that. So I stayed out 1 year and I got through the LSAT. And when I went into law school, everybody was looking bad. What the hell? A black guy here. So I got into law school, and when I went to law school, the Board of Admissions asked me to come to meet them. I said, well, what it is? They want to know this guy who took every history classes on the graduate history course that the university had. I took every history course, every anthropology course, every sociology course, every philosophy course. I took courses in the history of the British institutions, history of the monarchy, history of the church and state. I took everything that they had. And they said, why did you take all those courses? And I said, well, when I went to the university and I saw all the books and stuff, and I couldn't resist them. I used to be studying. I took even electives. I took, and I had one professor who came to follow me. They came on to see what I was doing. Professor Greenwood, he was my constitutional history professor, and he always said to me that he think I was making a mistake by coming to a place where they didn't have a constitution that like in where I could exercise my mind. So when I went to law school now, I was so intimidated by all these rich kids. I had a little MGA convertible car. We didn't have any top. And I used to drive it in the winter without top. Snow, rain, and I had a big scarf around my neck. And they always said, that colored guy is wealthy. They didn't know that I was poor. And I used to press my pants out every night and wash my shirt to come to school the next day. All right, I used to sit in the back of the class. the last one in and the first one out. And I remember, now in Canada they teach the Socratic method. They don't lecture you for no 45 minutes and you write down everything. They come and say, today we are going to do self-defense. And he will give you a lecture what self-defense means, and he gives you 300 or 400 cases to develop how self-defense develop, and you have to go and read them. And when they come now to classes now, Mr. Miller, can you tell us the what happened in Jones versus the Crown? You want a fox, and as I would say, well, so and so and so, you know, the guy got convicted, blah blah, and then he claimed self-defense. Mr. Orrett, will you tell us? Connor will tell us what the court held. And then Mr. McPhail was there, ended the sentence judgment, and was there arbiter. Did the court say anything, by the way, like how the court said about we should have some sort of civil union? That was not the case, but that's what they say, by the way.
Yeah.
And then you open the class up for discussion. So I'm sitting in the back of the class, but so I remember now I have one opportunity. If I mess this up, there's no coming back, because they had already said I was too old. Because when I went back, I was 33.
Wow. Okay.
I was too old to pass the law test and things like that. And maybe this was not right for me, and maybe I should go in history. But what I had was a good memory, and they didn't know that. And when I would say, everybody said, blah blah, 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 yeah, I told them, Mr. McPhail, do you know? Yes, and I would know the cases, and I say, well, Lord so and so didn't agree with Lord so and so. He was dissented, and for me, that seems the better judgment, but based on the facts, blah blah. And everybody had to turn around to watch me, to look at me, and I had them.
Yes.
I said, I got them now. They got to turn around. Look, I'm not leaving my seat now. I'm not intimidated by them. You see? And they had to look in the back to see me. And I got to be the guy, well, Mr. McPhail, where you find this? And I said, well, look at page date so-and-so, you'll find that. And I got through. All right, one of the reasons why I came here is because after my first and second year at the university, law school, I was working in the steel mill at the same time, from 11 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. And obviously, when 3 and 4 o'clock came, I was falling asleep. And the faculty summoned me again and said that they had reports on the professor that something is wrong with me. I'm not well. I'm ill. If, you know, that they want me to take a test to see if I was sick. And I say, well, I don't understand, because I'm working at night. And they say, well, what do you do? And I says, I'm working in the steel mill from 11 o'clock till 7 in the morning. And they said to me, do you expect to pass to get out here? But you can't have a full-time job and work here. Anyway, where to get money? So I heard about the scholarship in Cayman. So I wrote to Cayman. Yeah, the Law Society has a scholarship. When I came down to Cayman to look at it, it's only $1,500 a year. It can't help me. It can't help me. It's only to buy books and to pay a ticket. And then they told me that if you don't finish by 1975, under the regime in which Caymanian lawyers were called to the bar, because Cayman was part of the Caribbean Legal Council of Education, that they wouldn't be able to practice law in Canada, from Canada. And so what I did, I joined the University of the West Indies campus. I went there 1 year and I got my law degree there. And I came back. And when I finished, I met David Rich there at the University of the West Indies in Barbados. And when I finished, they say, well, I'm sorry, but Cayman opted out of the legal council, and we can't go now to the professional school in Jamaica to do Norman Manley School to finish over to get called to the bar. So I became clerk of the courts at the time, and I wanted to go back to Canada to do my articles. And Gilbert McLean is responsible. Jim Bodden asked me to stay on. Miss Hannah Bodden, all of them asked me to stay on permanently. and they would send me to England to do the bar exams in England. So they sent me up to England. I chose to go to Lincoln's Inn. David went to Inner Temple. I did the bar, and when I came back, I was in the legal department in the house, the glass house in front of us. David Rich and I were Crown Counsels, with Mr. Seymour Panton. Mr. Donaldson was the legal draftsman. Mr. David Barrick was our boss.
Okay.
So that's how I came back to Cayman Islands.
Okay. We need to take a commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
2020 means perfect vision. And if you have your sights set on driving a new hybrid, then the time is now to check out the new RAV4 and CHR. Just two of the many hybrid models that Vamped is bringing to Cayman. Whether you're looking for a smoother and quieter way of driving or want a car that maximizes fuel efficiency while minimizing emissions, there are lots of ways a new hybrid from Vamped can make the difference in your life. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries without being plugged in. So focus your 2020 vision on a new hybrid from Vamped Motors, and we will see you through. Come to Vamped, home of the hybrid, located on Walkers Road.
We are Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I'm gonna walk them golden stairs, 'cause I know my Jesus answers all my prayers.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, for the God of the mountain is still God in the valley.
Shout with joy to God, all the earth sing glory to His name.
Praise time. Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Sorry. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning MLA Mr. Ezra Miller and Dr. Steve McFeel, who's here this morning on the invitation of Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller promised last week that he wanted to have him on with him, and we have him on, and we're hearing part of the life history of Dr. Steve McFeel as well. And one of our listeners has written in and said, Dr. McFeel, you are so real. The prayer is First Chronicles verse 10 says, I love it. Thank you. The Bible is real. Love you, Dr. McFeel. Then it's going and says chapter First Chronicles verse 10, chapter 4.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So, back to you.
Yeah, and so, my friends, I don't work. I love what I'm doing is pleasure for me. I love getting up in the morning as early as possible and going to my office and hearing people come with their problems, and sometimes they can pay, sometimes they can't pay, and sometimes I can solve them, and sometimes I can't solve them, and sometimes I'll send them to places where I think they can they get a remedy. Now, a lot of people don't know, but I got married into a banker family in Canada. My father-in-law was a general manager of Royal Bank. And when I came here, he gave me a letter. He gave me a letter to the Royal Bank, introducing me and his daughter, and the bank manager was Hal Jacobs at the time. Mm-hmm. And he told Hal Jacobs in a letter that this is to introduce Steve McFeel and my daughter Jody to you, and I'm asking you to give them the Royal Bank plan to get them settled. Now the Royal Bank plan is that when you have a Royal Bank family like that, your father or somebody's manager, they give you like 2% interest on the loan. Mm-hmm. And the first interruption I got was Hal Jacobs said to me after he read the letter, and he called me and said, your father-in-law is my boss in Canada. But he said that doesn't apply in Cayman. That only applies in Canada. They're all millionaires in my brother-in-laws. I have brother-in-laws. They all Royal Bank managers. And when I go to Canada, and I meet them, they'll say, "Oh well, how much money you made this year, Steve?" And I said, "Not much. You know, I'm a real defender." And they'll say, "Oh well, I made $4 million this year, and my wife made $3 million and stuff." And I bought and sell 4 or 5 houses this year and turn over the money and stuff. And if I had stayed with that family, sometimes when I was not really settled, when I had stayed, I was to wonder if I had stayed with that family, I would have been rich now too, and I would have been a Royal Bank manager lawyer, because my father would have got me in there as a lawyer, and I would have been retired and playing golf and stuff. And I lost my first wife because of my attitude of not wanting to go back to Canada when I had my problems here, when I first tried to get settled here, and the things that they did to me and tried to push me out and things like that. And she decided to go back and leave me and to fight the battle myself. But today I'm glad that I made that decision, because I'm happy what I'm doing, and that adds to my life. It keeps me thinking. And it keeps me up, and it keeps me upbeat, and I'm glad that I'm a Caymanian lawyer, and I'm glad that I was one of the people who set the bar for all Caymanians to come, because it was after we graduated from law school that they started law school. They started law school, and they started law school here because we were the last. My class that graduated in England during the Jubilee year was the last time you could go to England and go to the law school to get qualified as a lawyer, as a barrister, without having an English law degree. After us, they say you have to come to England and get a law degree first before you can go to do the bar exams. Okay. So I'm happy that I'm still alive, and that I still have my youth and I can still think quickly, and that's something God given me. It's a gift that I got. And I'm happy about it, and I protect it, and I'm not going to destroy it for anybody. And I'm so happy that I know my God. I don't go to church a lot, but I'm a Christian because I love my neighbor like myself, and I help my neighbor, and I love my country, and like I said, my first family, I sacrificed for my country. And I don't know if my children appreciate that, but my son at least appreciates that now, and he's glad that he has a dad who's like me, and we always talk about all the time how I survived against all odds by myself in North America. And I remember some of the days I didn't have any money, I couldn't have to pay the rent, and I had to sleep on the subway, and eat one meal a day because I couldn't afford 2 or 3 meals a day while I was at university. I could only eat 1 meal a day at 3 or 4 o'clock when everybody came out, because I didn't have the money to pay the car fare and to eat too and to pay the rent, and it was hard. But I said to myself, this is the road I have chosen, and I am not going to be a failure. It's not my vocabulary to fail. And people say to me, "But you're too old. You're too old. Look how long you're going to be. 10 years? 4 years to get a university degree? 3 years to get a law degree, that's 7. And then 2 years to do the bar exams, and then 1 year for due pupillage?" Oh, people say, you know what a guy said to me one time? I used to go to a place called The Factory. It was a nightclub. Mm-hmm. And I used to have like 2 and 3 girlfriends, one on each arm, one coming in the back, and stuff. I was popular and stuff, flash of clothes and all that kind of stuff. And they said, "Get a few of those girls and let them work for you." That's what a guy said to me one time, a black guy from Toronto. And I said, "No, I came here. There's a purpose why I'm here, why I escaped the clutches of those people who wanted to send me to jail, to prison." And people didn't know how old I was. I wouldn't tell them. But when I went to university, I was talking to kids. "Oh yeah, Elvis." They said, "You know Elvis Presley?" yeah. And I said, "Yeah, oh yes." I say, I saw him on TV. But they didn't know that I was the same age as Elvis. 'Cause Elvis and I born in 1935 in January.
Okay.
You see?
Wow.
So that's life.
Yeah.
That's life. And I just wish that many other Caymanian boys and girls could go through the same process and find their way in life and find their position and be strong and to know that if you have God with you, I know that there's no one that you should be afraid of.
Yeah. And thank you very much for that, Dr. McField. And I just want to share this before I have Mr. Miller give some closing comments. It says, what does the prayer of Jabez really mean? And this explanation says that Jabez is asking God to bless him greatly, exceedingly, or abundantly. God can provide beyond all that you can ask or imagine. He's leaving it up to God as the to the means of the blessing. So he left it up to God in terms of the means of the blessing. This blessing is similar to "Thy will be done" in the Lord's Prayer. They're very similar to that. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, well, just to comment a little bit on the newest thing that we're trying to get organized in Northside is we're trying to get back to some of that old-time dancing that we used to enjoy. But we had a wonderful little turnout on Monday night. Mr. Gerlo was there, and showing us the little foot move and the hip move and thing for the quadrille. And, we invite everybody to come out, and I hope to turn it into something where we can, that one night a week, we can, have dozens and hundreds of people there, and we're all, because we want to get back into doing the two-step waltz, a little bit of polka, a little bit of jig, and of course a few calypsos and merengue too, because these young people don't know anything about those kind of dances, and it's a good exercise,
Yes.
I mean, I had to stop, get my breath out. But I told them, I said, I didn't wear my dancing shoes last night. But when I come next Monday night, I'll have them on.
Yes.
But it's again an opportunity to try. One of the things that I really want to see done, young people like myself don't really appreciate how difficult it was for people like Dr. Steve McField to achieve all the things he achieved in life, especially in the academic environment, right? And many of the people in his age group just didn't have that opportunity. They were full of ability, but they didn't have that opportunity. And he didn't have opportunity, He created opportunities for himself through sacrifice, And we need to, somehow we got to get the young people in this country talking to the old people.
Yes.
Right? And get that shared experience and inculcating the young people that you can do this. You can do this. It just takes effort, because, and we got to take Cayman back and present it back to these people in a better form than we found it.
That's right.
Because it's not that way now.
Yep.
I mean, my greatest disappointment in talking to Caymanians across the spectrum is they're losing hope. They're losing hope. And we have to find a way politically to take the country back and restore hope and opportunity for Caymanians where we are proud. But listen to me, when I was growing up, nobody had to explain to me who Caymanian was, I knew who they were. I knew what it stood for, the principles, the morals, the ethics, the standards. We're allowing all of that to be diluted by this importation of population. Because what has happened to us in Cayman now is that most countries grow their population organically, which drives the demands for development. We've reversed that whole thing, We have developers coming here, creating development to drive population growth so they can have more development, right?
Yep.
And it's hard. Some people say the only place you can find Caymanians now is at funerals,
Yes, that's the truth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller.
Okay. So it's good for having me.
Yep.
See you next week Wednesday. And if Dr. McField wants to come back, I'll be glad to have him because he adds a lot to it. And part of why I would like him to come with me every Wednesday is because we need this kind of generational interaction and so that we can give hope back to these Caymanians and these young people.
Yeah. Dr. McField.
One of the things I'm doing next week Tuesday is I'm going to the 8 Mile Primary School to talk to the kids about the three arms of government, the structure of government.
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
we all enjoy that thing that Ms. Rockin put on. I wish they would do that every term.
Yes. And I
need
enjoyed
more
participating. Dr. McPhail, you mentioned in your given your part of your life history, Mr. Ormond Panton, and of course in the Trade Winds newspaper, Thursday, the 20th of January, 1965. There is a photograph of Mr. Ormond with his wife, pictured celebrating their 24th wedding anniversary. At that time, that would have been the 24th wedding anniversary on January the 12th at Delmax Caymans, the newest nightclub in West Bay. Delmax at that point in time. So there's a photograph of Miss Naomi and Mr. Ormond dancing, celebrating there. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because there is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling, Dwayne Ebanks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands. And if you feel that you want to be blessed and you need a direction in life, I learned something new today. Maybe you should say the prayer of Jabez as well. Encourage you to do that. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Folks, have a great day.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.